Hello, I'm Pernille Jorgensen. I'm a VIO at SRUC in Aberdeen and I work for the vet services. Today I'm going to be talking about some common conditions and diseases which might affect cattle on grass. This time of year there tends to be less fresh grass, and we tend to go over to where the grass is growing less, which can cause some challenges. One of the challenges is that the cattle might move because there's less feed in the form of grass to eat poisonous plants. Some of the plants I've seen going on a walk this weekend is we have ragwort, common at the moment, which can cause severe liver damage in cattle. It tends to be a chronic build-up, so they need to eat quite a bit, but when it happens the liver is ruined forever. So the clinical signs you can see in your cattle would be colic, jaundiced, they go all yellow because the liver is ruined. They can have diarrhea and neurological signs because when the liver is ruined, they can't get rid of toxins, so it goes to the brain. Another one that's quite common at the moment is foxglove, and I've seen them around too, often in the hedges and along the roadside. They act differently in the cows, and they're not that common to get poisoning by foxgloves in cows, but it does occur. The interesting things about both of these two, foxglove and ragwort, is that when you dry them, for instance, if you put them in hay or silage, they can act still as poisonous when it's dried later in the year. Another common poison in cattle is bracken fern. Plenty of those around too. Apparently they don't taste good to cattle, apart from when they're quite young and green. When they go old, they don't like them later in the year. But again, it's more like a chronic exposure. So you might have the cattle eat them early in the year and then get symptoms later on. And what bracken does is it ruins the bone marrow, which produces white and red blood cells, which means that the clinical signs you would see in the cattle can be that of anemia. And they can even get red tinged urine, which might make you think of red water, but I'll get back to that. Another one, it's a bit early still, but we're getting there, is acorn or oak poisoning. The acorns taste quite sour, but some cattle appear to get sort of a fetish for it. They crave it for some unknown reason and would seek them out over other grass available. And similar to some of the other toxicities, what you would see is they would get diarrhea. First they would get constipation, then like a dark diarrhea and colic, and what ultimately kills them is kidney damage, irreversible kidney damage. Something else to pay attention to in the autumn, late summer, autumn, another kind of poisoning that we can't really see and is from something that the cows eat a lot of, which is grass. In the autumn, when we move adult cattle, sometimes you move them from a sort of not lush grass to a lusher green grass, and that can cause a poisoning within the cattle from the grass. So it happens because they eat this fresh grass that is full of protein, which gets then degraded in the rumen, the forestomachs, too quickly, which causes a product to go into the lungs, which causes them to get pneumonia. And they will die pretty quickly when they get to this stage. The main differential is husk. You can get, I think my colleague Helen talked about husk a couple of times ago. Lungworm infection, where you can get an anaphylactic sort of reaction, where you can also get sudden death in these adult cattle. So that's worth considering too. A post-mortem examination is the way to figure it out, what causes the death. I mentioned red water before as a cause of blood in the urine. So tick-borne diseases is definitely also something to bear in mind. They seem to be restricted to the areas or hills, even lowlands, where there are ticks, infected ticks. We see 3 diseases mainly here in Scotland, and that is tick-borne fever, which is caused by a bacterium. We get louping ill, which is caused by a virus, and babesiosis, which is caused by a parasite. So these ticks can harbor many different pathogens. For the tick-borne fever, the bacterium goes in and ruins, it destroys the white blood cells, which makes the animals more susceptible to infection, being that Pasteurella or other things, bacterial infections. And it might hinder the efficiency of the vaccines. The louping ill, sheep are more affected than cattle, and it goes to the brain and causes an infection. So you would typically see neurological signs in your sheep if they have louping ill. Babesiosis is also commonly called red water because it causes an anemia, a destruction of the red blood cells in the cows, and that's mainly a cow disease. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.